This is not going to be the longest video of all time. It will not be the most in-depth video of all time because I want to talk about my thoughts on this movie without spoiling it because it's been out for literally like a day. The FNAF movie came out yesterday, and that's very cool because for anyone who doesn't know, it's been like an 8-year wait for that. It does a lot of really interesting things. There's a lot of big like lore diversions from the game. I'm not gonna be that guy like the annoying ass guy who compares the movie to the games because obviously they can't adapt every minute detail of one of the most complicated lores in like the history of video game lores. But they did definitely make a ton of changes. Most of them, I think, honestly, for the better. There were also a lot of Easter eggs, a lot of cameos and whatnot. You know, the cameos were funny. They did them in interesting ways. One of the cameos said something that literally everyone wanted them to say, which felt very forced in the context of the scene, but was also literally the funniest thing I've ever heard. So I hear a lot of people express issues with like the pacing of the movie, which I totally get. It actually does stretch 5 nights, which is very dope. Love that. I was really worried there was going to be like 1 or 2 nights of action, and then like a bunch of empty nights full of nothing. And we do definitely get like a night of nothing, which I think is good to establish like atmosphere. The pacing I thought was really well done, but that also kind of leads into another issue. Anyone who doesn't like FNAF, like in any real capacity, probably isn't gonna get the same amount of value out of this movie as someone like me who's been playing the game since I was like way too young to be playing those games. So I think that is not required. You can definitely enjoy it without that. I know most of my friends who aren't like into FNAF at all were able to enjoy it just fine, which is great. You'll love to see that. The acting was pretty mid. You know, there were some people that were definitely phoning it in, but like Josh Hutcherson, who plays Mike, I think he did a great job. I think he did a pretty good, realistic job of depicting kind of like an obsessive guy. There's a lot more character to him than I thought we were gonna get because in the games he has literally no character. They kind of gave him some traits and personality that I thought was really interesting, and it kept me, you know, attached during the movie. Matthew Lillard obviously has the best performance in the movie, to literally no one's surprise. But the pacing thing really does come into check there because he is not in much of this movie at all. He does not get that many scenes really at all, which sucks because, again, he's the best part of this movie. He really just gets the one in the beginning that was in all the trailers, and then another one towards the end, which sucks because, and I'm trying my best not to spoil anything, but obviously he goes full, like, Matthew Lillard. We've seen bits of it in trailers and whatnot, but he goes full, like, Scream, Matthew Lillard, you know, off the wall, but the only other time we've seen him was that, like, office section, so it's really weird with someone like Lillard. You know, you generally want to, like, ease into it, maybe even just a little bit. Even in Scream, like, he was a kooky-ass dude in that movie. But he started by being a little bit kooky, and then whenever we got to the killer reveal, he was, like, he just turned it up a little bit. Where it's very different in this movie. He's, like, 0 and then all the way at 100, like, screaming, mouth salivating, all that shit. Which is cool. That's what I wanted to see from this performance. There were also a lot of creative decisions I was very interested in. Like, at one point, there's... I could totally be wrong about this, but it seems just way too specific and way too targeted. But it seems like at one point there's an Easter egg to a fan-made animatronic that was really popular back in the FNAF 1 days, which, if that's what it is insane attention to detail, and should be super commended because that's kind of awesome, actually. At one point, you get to see one of the Springlock animatronics, and it's, I think, something from the books, which is cool. The movie isn't scary. It's not a scary movie by really any measure. There's maybe 2 scenes that kind of creep me out, and they're both in all of the trailers. So nothing in the movie really caught me off guard with how scary it was, but who was expecting that, really? Who was going into the 5 Nights at Freddy's movie? Well, what true Fred heads were just expecting to, like, piss their pants in the theater? Really shouldn't have been anyone. Everyone should have kept their expectations tapered. This is a PG-13 horror movie made by the same studio that, like, just made Megan and a bunch of other kind of low-budget movies. So you need to keep your expectations in check with this one because it's not Citizen Kane. The child acting was kind of a highlight, actually. They all did really good jobs. They were all very creepy, which is weird because the animatronics were probably the least frightening part of this movie. It feels like they went out of their way to make them seem unscary in basically every scene they were in. Even in the final encounter, they really don't do shit. Like, they don't really participate that much, which is an insane decision considering he's literally on the title, Freddy, and he does not have that much to do in this movie. But yeah, I think that's really it. Again, I said this was going to be a shorter video. I don't have that much to say, all in all. I think that it's a solid 7 out of 10. I think that there was definitely worse that this could have gone. But I do hope we get a second one. I hope Markiplier shows up in the second one, because they already said that he wasn't going to show up before the movie came out. But yeah, if that's it, I will see you in the next video, which is coming out in another few months, given my current schedule. And have a good one.